most of today's episodes are either a snooze fest with a few good scenes, or episodes that packed in as many microplots as possible. Welcome to Best of Trek, Worst of Trek. I'm your host, Dustin Wing. Evolving at 472, Ascendance, or Transfiguration. The first two acts of this one are about as boring as Trek gets. The Enterprise finds a person crashed in a system they're surveying. He has no memory, and literally the first half of the episode is a 6-week montage of this guy getting better until he still doesn't remember anything. When the crew locates his homeworld, they find out he's a fugitive and other members of his race force choke the entire crew to get him back. Turns out, though, this guy is just at the threshold of turning into this race's next evolutionary form, and the others are afraid. The music in this one is distracting in parts, but we get to see the first of many times O'Brien will visit the sickbay for kayaking mishaps. Arguing with Fungus at 471, Tilly and the Shrooms, or Saints of Imperfection. This episode has the opposite problem of the one that preceded it. It has way too much going on, and so much requires not just massive amounts of suspension of disbelief, but requires giving up on the concept altogether. We start off by being reintroduced to Georgiou as part of Section 31. Tilly is taken into the mushroom network that the ship travels when it goes black alert, and to try and stop a creature that's killing them, which turns out to be Culber, who's here because when he died, Stamets touched him, and his soul ended up here, and he's resisting being broken down by the fungus that underpins the entire universe. I give the writers a little credit for some completely original thinking in a Trek script. Unfortunately, when you actually try to sum it up as a coherent thought like I just did, it sounds ridiculous. I particularly liked Culber, so I'm glad they brought him back. But, note to the writers, if you don't want your characters dead, don't kill them. In the first 2 seasons, 3 main characters climbed the Black Mountain. This episode goes big on special effects for often what feels like the sake of special effects. Section 31 literally comes out of nowhere, as if they've been shadowing Discovery the whole day. Send in Uncle Benjen to clean up the corner the writers ended up in. And there's this point they've got a minute to get out of the network and take 10 screen minutes doing it. The cherry on top is closing with the explosion and no real logical closure point observed. All this said, the couple of scenes with Paul and Hugh just before getting him back are heartwarming. Enough for me to put this episode a little more than a third of the way up the list. Swimming in sewage at number 470. False start. Or the Xindi. In a nutshell, Enterprise has been in the Expanse randomly messing around for weeks and finding out nothing. What they finally learn in the episode is that the Xindi aren't one species, and their home planet was destroyed a few hundred years ago. Getting from the long road to the closing credits means opening a platinum refinery, cutting off a finger, and wading chest deep in alien sewage. Not to mention Hoshi just now introducing herself to the Mako soldiers on board, even though it's been like 4 months altogether on a small ship. Trip's unsettling dream about his sister, and the beginning of sexy time neuropressure are the only things hanging this one up here on the list. This is a really bad start to a really good season. On the rebound is number 469, First Romance. Or, In Theory. This episode is all over the place, and except for some good character development for Data, it's as much of a train wreck as Data's first girlfriend. A really needy, one-dimensional character just broke up with her boyfriend and finds a rebound in Data, which is confusing for him, and it is fun to watch him try to incorporate human mating behaviors into his programming. But some of the bits are really cringeworthy. There's another plot about anomalies that stack furniture into horror movie piles that fills the rest of the runtime. We see Data's shapeshifter Spot, who escapes. Guinan makes drinks with Targ milk, and Data asks everyone their opinion on dating. with mixed results. In general, this was a Trek attempt at being funny that missed the mark as a whole, but got enough chuckles to rank it here. Taking on a new captain at 468, shake things up. Or, brother. So much happening in this episode, some of it is great, and some of it is barely coherent. I'm quite unclear what the point of using Cassini photos with more way too long exposition was. Not off to the best start of a season here. At least we're introduced to arguably the best version of Amanda ever, but even little Spock is unimpressed with exposition. Discovery literally just left Earth to pick up a new Vulcan captain after their last captain turned out to be a Mirror Universe ploy. And in comes Pike with no advanced warning from Starfleet that he's coming on board and commandeering the ship. Don't get me wrong, I've got high hopes for Strange New Worlds based on Anson Mount in Season 2 of Discovery. But this has never sat right with me. We finally get formally introduced to the bridge crew by name, reminding us the writers completely and totally failed in character development in Season 1. We pick up Jet Reno as a recurring character rescuing the crew of the Hiawatha, and she is easily one of the best additions to the cast, even if we only see her a couple of episodes a season, like Guinan. In the same asteroid field, they capture a dark matter asteroid, which will become important later in the season. Burnham meets the Red Angel for the first time. Pike reads a fortune out of one of Lorca's cookies that's absolutely perfect for him. And Burnham finds out Spock has known about the Red Angel they're chasing. A lot of good setup, but some poor execution of the plot in places. Swapping consciousnesses at 467. Transference. Or Return to Tomorrow. Basically, the Enterprise crew find disembodied souls, and Kirk orders members of the crew to give up their bodies for a few days, so these master android builders can build themselves new bodies. We get some amazing William Shatnering moments, and get one of the early appearances by Diana Muldaur. And one of the souls doesn't want to give up bodies they already have. There's some weirdness in people like Kirk dying, Spock killing his own body while his consciousness is in Majel, and then somehow McCoy still puts their consciousnesses back in their heads. Overall, it's a satisfying watch, even if most of the episode doesn't make a lot of sense. Don't try to think too hard about this one and you'll enjoy it. Turning into a top at 466, see what sticks. Or Shadow Play. Another episode packed full of mediocre microplots. Odo and Dax find themselves in a holographic village where the villagers don't know they're holographic. Dax resets the simulation so they can continue existing a while longer. Jake gets a job with Miles and confesses he doesn't want to go to Starfleet Academy. Quark sets Kira up with Bareil so she'll be distracted from his contraband smuggling cousin, but he gets arrested anyway. There's some weird line delivery by Kira in this one. She seems really dumbfounded around Bareil, but it's the start of something great and tragic, which is what DS9 is best at. Satisfying middle-of-the-pack Trek. Watching a soap opera at 465, Hidden Feelings. Or Human Error. In a retread of TNG's Hollow Pursuits, Seven suffers hollow addiction to the point of failing to regenerate, rather opting for sleeping in holographic quarters and having an inappropriate relationship with a hologram of Chakotay. She should really compare notes with Reg Barkley when they get home in a few episodes. The intro is Seven playing piano for seemingly no reason, but the biggest sin in this episode is one that's plagued Voyager. When they try making the traditional B-plot flip runtimes with the A-plot, and the classic Trek plot going on is actually getting in the way of the mediocrely done but better traditional B-plot, in this way too late in the series romance, starting here and picked up in the real world only in the very end of the series. I kinda like the idea of Seven and Chakotay. As far as soap opera Trek goes, this is watchable. A contract is a contract is a contract at 464, for keeps, or body parts. There's no other way to put it. This one just feels weird. It's always a good time to see Jeffrey Combs go all Brunt FCA, But taking Quark's business license and seizing all his assets in a scheme concocted by him just doesn't seem overly satisfying. Moreover, this is where Keiko starts losing her mind and micromanaging Kira and Miles since her baby got transferred. Certainly one of those DS9 episodes that moves Quark's series plot forward for future run-ins with Brunt. Keeping kids up past their bedtime at 463, Ghost Story. Or The Haunting of Deck 12. The ship shuts down most power, and Neelix pops into the cargo bay at the last possible creepy moment to babysit the Borg children, whose regeneration cycle is impacted by the power shutdown. He ends up telling them a ghost story that doesn't truly have an ending. This episode builds up a ton of suspense, and then at the end, this unseen entity that speaks through Majel gets released to where it should be, in one of the most anticlimactic moments in Trek. Solid watch, especially for Halloween. But this episode definitely missed a Halloween market, releasing in May of that year. It was nominated for an Emmy for visual effects, though.
Ah, computer.
That program is available.
Thanks, Majel. Majel, Majel. Thanks, Majel. Majel, Majel.
Flight path originated at bearing 003, Mark 015.
Thanks, Majel.
Negative.
Majel, Majel.
Warning, atmospheric decompression in bridge observation lounge.
Thanks, Majel.
Metabolic rate is double and rising, Doctor.
Thanks, Majel, Majel.
I understand.
Thanks, Majel.
We'll find them excellent, Doctor.
Majel, Majel.
Doctor,
Thanks, Majel.
Mr. Spock's consciousness was placed in me.
Majel, Majel.
Lieutenant Torres is in engineering. Ensign Chumari is on deck 4, section 30. Commander Tuvok is on the...
Thanks, Majel.
Oxygen depletion in progress.
Majel, Majel.
Warning, power failure.
Thanks, Majel.
Authorization code required.
Majel, Majel.
Review of navigational logs in progress.
Thanks, Majel.
Life support failure on all decks. Abandoned ship.
Majel, Majel.
Unable to comply.
Thanks, Majel.
Unable to confirm.
Majel, Majel.
Captain Janeway, report to engineering.
Thanks, Majel.
Access to all systems has been restored.
Majel, Majel.
7 of 9 is in holodeck 2.
Thanks, Majel.
Modifications complete.
Majel, Majel.
Change my mind. We'll take